So yes, it's that time of year again. It's what I call the Holiday Blitz. This happens once per year. It's probably the easiest and fastest way that you can get stuff chiseled off of your credit reports and increase your FICO score by hundreds of points, because many of your creditors and collection agencies are going to be laxy-daisy over the holidays, which means that you could use this for your full advantage. But please note that this only happens once a year. You do not want to miss this Holiday Blitz this year. Otherwise, you got to wait till next year. And who wants to do that, right? In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly what the dates are, what you should be mailing on what dates. Hopefully you have a pen and a pad of paper, so we have a lot to cover in a very short period of time. Let's get into it. Okay, so years ago, I started this whole thing with the Holiday Blitz. It's starting to gain traction over the years because there is a lot of, I guess you could say, truth to what I say when it comes to disputing things with the credit reporting bureaus and even with creditors directly over the holiday season. And the reason being is because people's brains are elsewhere. They're not focused on work. There's skeleton crews at most organizations, including the credit reporting bureaus like Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And you can use this to your full advantage this time of year if you play your cards right. So in this video, I decided to do a very comprehensive crash course on exactly how to get these things off of your personal credit. And at the very end, I'm going to share with you how you can actually win $5,000 for being one of the people that increases your FICO score by at least 200 points or more between now and January, okay? And how you can actually get into this contest and maybe even be $5,000 richer, in addition to having a FICO score that's more than 200 points higher than it is right now. So let's talk about the first stage of the Holiday Blitz. This is what I call the pre-Holiday Blitz. Normally I don't do a pre-holiday blitz, so I'm actually giving you an unfair advantage this year than I have in other years past, because I'm going to share with you exactly how you can take advantage of another strategy that I don't talk about very often, okay? And it's with my empty envelope strategy. In fact, here is an empty envelope right now. And you can see that there is a certified receipt attached to it. And this is what we call a certified card that you get from the United States Postal Service. And so on the back side of this card, you can see this is the part that has your address. Your address is going to go here. Here's my recommendation. Only put a P.O. box. Do not put a name, okay? Do not put your personal street address. If you don't have a P.O. box, go and get one. Borrow a family member's, whatever, and put just the P.O. box, not a name, okay? This is going to be important in a minute, all right? Now, why are we doing this? Why do we want these certified cards? Because this is going to be kind of the grit that makes your credit kind of polish and shine very, very quickly, okay? It's through these certified cards, again, that you get at the United States Postal Service by walking into the post office, trudging in there, and filling out these cards. I recommend you grab a stack of these, do them all and fill them out at home, and then take them back, okay, when you're ready to mail them off. Now, what do you do with all of this, and where are all of these cards going? Where is this empty envelope going? In fact, do you have to use this big of an empty envelope? The answer is no, you do not. You can use a standard number 10 size business envelope if you like. You don't have to use this big of an envelope, but I use this for illustration purposes just to show you what the envelope is supposed to look like. So, why the empty envelope and who does it go to, and why are we starting early? In fact, how early are we starting? As early as October 15th. Because we need to give this 30 days to get to your creditors, which, by the way, you take a look at your creditors that have closed accounts, ideally credit collection agencies, and you look at your credit reports, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, get the addresses of these creditors off your credit report and mail them an empty envelope with a certified card. And what's going to end up happening is that somebody has to stand in line at the post office, usually once a week, and sign all of these on behalf of their creditor or collection agency, usually the bottom of the barrel individual who just got hired on, who's getting minimum wage, probably hates his or her job because they have to do this every single week. And sometimes they stamp them, sometimes they sign them, but what you want is a signed and dated card. And so what ends up happening is that this is usually on the back of the envelope. So it'll look like this. So if you're going to be mailing these off, how you prepare these for mailing is once you grab a stack of these and a stack of these at the post office, go home, fill them all out. You'll come back and you'll have your envelopes. You'll have this here. Leave this attached, folks. People make this mistake all the time. They detach this and then they screw up because then they have to basically go through these stacks and match up the number on these, and then it just takes forever and people get pissed off in line that are behind you at the post office, okay? And if the guy behind the counter is a jerk, he'll make you stand off in a corner and then stand in line again. So don't do that. Leave these attached, and you want to fill out this information here. This is going to be your receipt that you're going to take home with you with this number here that's going to be the certified trackable number here. So you want to send the certified and trackable mail. And then you want this part that's going to have the creditor on the front. The creditor's name is going to be right here. Name of creditor, address of creditor. And then you don't touch this part here because the creditor will sign and date this. Usually they have a stamper, so don't be shocked. Oh no, Monica, I don't know what to do. Somebody didn't sign it. They stamped something. Hello, they're doing these for probably hundreds of these a week. They're not going to stand there and sign in many cases. So don't freak out and panic. Now, don't forget this part because a lot of people forget this part. And they forget to put their address on here and they're like, Monica, the U.S. Postal Service never mails these back. Well, yeah, it would be very, very helpful if you put your address on the back, okay? Now, like I said, put a P.O. box. Do not put a name. And what you want to do is then, once you do this part on the back, you affix this to here. You take off these little like peel and sticks and you put it right on the back. If you have a smaller envelope, which many of you will have, then just put it on the back like this, okay? What's in the envelope? Nothing, okay? Nothing. That's the point. There's nothing in the envelope. And you want to get these out by October 15th, no later than October 17th. There's a reason and there's a method to the madness. This is the pre-Holiday Blitz, okay? So what is the purpose of the empty envelope? Well, inside the empty envelope is supposed to be a request from the creditor to give you proof of this debt, okay? Except there's not going to be anything in the envelope. The only reason you're doing this for is to get this stamped card back. Now, is this cheating? Yes, of course it's cheating, okay? It is cheating. I will be honest with you. It is freaking cheating. Now, if you don't want to cheat, then don't do this part and skip it all together. If you want to be a goody two-shoes and you want to be above board, good on you. I'm glad that you do. Okay, I'm so glad. It's just that I've seen so many unscrupulous credit reporting agencies like Experian, Equifax, TransUnion do some unscrupulous stuff, and creditors and collection agencies doing some equally unscrupulous stuff, right? Unscrupulous stuff, I should say. And so I don't care what you think about this strategy, okay? Because I have actually seen credit collection agencies lift people's signatures off of the letters that they send. Yeah, the letter that's supposed to be in this envelope that you would probably, trying to be the honest John or the honest Jane, trying to do it the honest way by basically signing your letter, which never, ever, ever, ever do that. By the way, if you're ever communicating with a creditor, do not sign your legal name to the letter. Just put a little scribble of your first initial and that's it. Never put your signature on there because I've seen them lift people's signatures off of those and then apply it to a contract that you never actually signed. And then what ends up happening is that, the judge, if it ever goes to court, will see this document that you sign. And guess what? They award whatever judgment in the favor of the plaintiff, which is the credit collection agency, and not you, because you signed something which you didn't actually sign. So I've seen all kinds of different stuff like this over the years. And I have to say that after I've seen the underbelly, the nasty, nasty underbelly of the credit collection agency world and the creditor world, this kind of stuff doesn't bother me. But again, if you want to do everything above board, you're going to completely skip this part. But say you want to do this part. October 15th, no later than October 17th, you want to get these out in the mail, which means you're going to have a stack of these. So go to Experian.com, get all 3 credit reports, or you can go to annualcreditreport.com, get all 3 free credit reports. You just won't get your FICO score. And you want to get the addresses of all your creditors, okay? They're going to be showing on your credit reports. You want to focus on closed accounts, not open revolving accounts, closed accounts. This is the fastest and easiest way to get those permanently removed. So you'll send an envelope to every single one of those creditors. Make sure you fill this out properly. Put this on the back of your envelope. Make sure you have a P.O. box without your name on the back. And then scribble some random P.O. box. Does not even have to be yours or associated with you at all. Basically, the U.S. Postal Service is going to require that you have something in the upper left-hand corner. Again, not your address at all, has nothing to do with you. And then this is going to be your creditor's information as it appears on your credit reports, okay? So what happens in this scenario? How does this work? Okay, well, creditor sends low-level employee to the post office. Low-level employee has to basically sign 1,000 of these, or probably, I don't know, a few dozen, a couple hundred, depending on how large the creditor or collection agency is. They'll have a stamp and they'll have a date on here, okay? U.S. Postal Service employee will take this off the back, rip it off, and they will mail it. They'll pop it right into the mail, and then you'll get this probably about 2 or 3 weeks later. This is really imperative to the rest of the credit repair process, okay? Now, the reason we want to send this also trackable mail is because sometimes U.S. Postal Service loses these, or sometimes some boneheads don't put their information, and they're like, Monica, I don't understand. I didn't get the card in the mail. Did you fill out the back? I might have forgot. Okay, well then that's probably why you didn't get the card, okay? Because the people that are part of the U.S. Postal Service are not also part of the Dionne Warwick Psychic Friends Network, and they don't know what your address is to send this card back to, so then this will be thrown away. All right, so unfortunately, you have to do the due diligence of painstakingly writing all of these out, and, it takes time, okay? Can you use a sticker? Yes, you can use a sticker. You can take your laser printer and create a bunch of stickers with a P.O. box on it and stick. Go ahead. That'll alleviate some of it, but I do recommend that you hand write this out with ink, okay? Blue or black ink. And again, the creditor's information is going to go right here, okay? And then you're also going to have to fill out this number. So see where there's a little box right here underneath the part where the creditor's information goes? This number here. So this number here will go right here, okay? Again, keep all of these together. You might want to take some paper clips, paperclip, next, paperclip, paperclip, because all of these have to add up to the same number here, okay? I'm telling you this because people waste their time. They do about 20 of these and then they're standing in line with their thumb in their butthole because they can't figure out which number is what, and then they're tossed to the back of the line. That's not what you want to do. So again, post office box that's not yours. Name of creditor here, certified mail, also trackable, and you want to fill this out. Once this has got your address, your P.O. box on it, without your name, put it to the back. Just peel and stick. There you go. Okay. Again, do not forget this part, guys. This is the imperative part. Okay. So no later than October 17th. What is the rhyme and reason for all of this, folks? Here's why. Because the guy who's going to be collecting or signing these on behalf of the credit collection agency, or lady, they're going to be signing these and dating these. You're going to get this back from the U.S. Postal Service in about 2 to 3 weeks. So what happens in 31 days, okay, so starting from the day after they receive this. So say, for example, you mail this on October 15th, they're reasonably close by, and by October 17th, they're signing and dating this, and then it takes a couple weeks after that for you to get this in the mail, but it still says October 15th on here. So when you get this back in a couple weeks after the 17th of October, and you're like, oh, okay, so they signed this on October 17th. So I'm going to now start the clock on October 18th, the next calendar day. So from October 18th to November 18th will be a full 30 days that they would have gotten this envelope. Now, some people ask some pretty, I want to say lame questions, especially in the comments area. They're like, what are they going to do with the empty envelope? It doesn't matter what they do with the envelope. They can frame it. They can use it as toilet paper. They could do whatever they want to do with this empty envelope, okay? Does not matter. Well, what if they're taking pictures of the front? Okay, well, first of all, they're not taking pictures of the front and back of this card, but are they going to know that your P.O. box without your name on it is going to be to you? Are they going to know? And are they going to know by taking a picture of this, which obviously they're going to have the envelope because they're going to take it with them? Are they going to know based on this bogus P.O. box that it's you because they're going to do handwriting analysis and they're going to know that it was you that sent the envelope? No, okay? They're not going to know any of this. And again, the low-level individual who's got to go to the post office and do this every week is not taking pictures of anything with his iPhone. He's not, or she's not. They're not doing that, okay? They don't care. They're just doing the very bare minimum of their job, signing, and walking out with these envelopes, and that's it. That's all they're doing, okay? So don't be freaking out and adding all these theories and these phantom scenarios that never exist. Just do what I'm asking you to do, and you will be able to get a lot of stuff off your credit. Again, focus on closed negative accounts, not closed positive accounts, not open negative accounts, closed negative accounts. Got it? Okay. So we want to get these in the mail to every closed negative account that is reflecting on your personal credit right now. Okay, we want those out in the mail. I'd like to see them out by October 15th, no later than October 17th. If you're watching this video way after that, then unfortunately you're going to have to skip the envelope part because you're going to miss this part of the Holiday Blitz, okay? That's fine. Oh, well. Or if you're one of these people that's like, oh, Monica, I don't know if I could send an empty envelope. That just seems like, blah, 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 blah. Then don't send the empty envelope, or you'll skip this whole part, okay? But again, what are we doing with this? And why is this so imperative to the credit repair process? Because when we get this card back, we're basically going to tell Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, hey, listen up. I sent this envelope to them with this letter, and by the way, you can get these letters for free at getdisputeletters.com or secretcreditletters.com down below. It is the very first letter that you'll find when you get to the second page of that website. So obviously the first page is for you to opt in. The second page is for you to actually see the letters that I have, and it's the very first letter. It's the longest bar that's up there at the top, and it's for creditors to stop harassing you, A, if they are harassing you, and B, to basically show proof that this debt is yours, okay? So what you're going to be doing is running off a copy of that with the date, which would be October 15th or 17th or whatever date you actually mailed it out. At the top, the name of your creditor, the address of your creditor, and then any references to your account number. It's going to be a partial account number, okay? Everybody's always asking me, well, Monica, there's only a partial account number on my Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. What do I do? Use the partial account number, okay? If later on you're ever going to say that this account is probably not yours, or you don't even have any knowledge of this account, how are you going to legitimately have a leg to stand on later on if you're offering and furnishing a full, complete account number if you're trying to say it's probably not your account later on, if that's what you're going to do, if that's the strategy you're going to use? Well, you can't do that. So you're going to use the partial account number as it shows on your credit report, and you're going to reference that in the letter to the creditor. Now, did the creditor actually get the letter? No. That was supposed to be in this envelope, but the envelope, oops, the envelope, I must have forgot to put the letter in there. But they signed for it, okay? Now, you don't tell Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion that. You basically just send a copy of this to the credit reporting bureaus, along with a copy of that letter that you can find at getdisputeletters.com or secretcreditletters.com. Make sure that you date it, the date that you mailed this, October 15th or whatever. Name of creditor, address of creditor as it shows on your credit report, partial account number as it shows on your credit report, details about the actual debt that they're showing as it appears on the credit report. And you basically say that you need to see proof of this debt because you don't believe it's your debt, whatever the letter says. All the legalese is in there. You don't have to worry about the legalese not being in there because it's all in there. So again, you can get it at getdisputeletters.com or secretcreditletters.com, and you will send a copy of that letter with your half-ass signature at the bottom. Make sure you make it look like a copy, so don't just give them, you don't want to actually just do an actual signature and send them that, because they're going to be like, wait a minute, if this is a copy of what they sent, then why am I getting a hard signature on this? So make sure that whatever letters you have a hard signature on, make a copy of that and send a copy of the letter with this, a copy of this, not the real green card, a copy of it, because you're going to need to make 3 copies per creditor. And then you send a copy of the green card and of the letter that you sent in the empty envelope, and you say, I don't understand this, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. I try to communicate with the creditor, asking them for proof of this debt. As per federal law, they're supposed to provide proof of this debt. They have failed to do so. They violated federal law. Because of this, this needs to be removed off my credit because this is inaccurate information that's being reported, or you could say it's not yours, whatever argument you want to have. The most innocuous argument to have in the beginning is always, this isn't accurate. So if you're ever wondering, what do I put for a dispute, always say this information is inaccurate. That way, you're not saying it's yours. You're not saying it's not yours. You're not admitting to or denying the account, okay? You're just basically saying it's inaccurate information that's being reported. You tried to reach out to the creditor. The creditor has failed to respond. Here's proof that you sent the letter to the creditor. And as per federal law, the creditor had to respond with proof of this debt. There's no response that was received. So therefore, because they failed to comply with federal law, you need to remove this off my credit report immediately. Now you will send these letters. One will go to Experian, one will go to Equifax, one will go to TransUnion. You can put as many of these copies of these green cards with the copies of the letter. So if you have 10 accounts that you're disputing, you can put all 10 letters in there. Just make sure that you staple the copy of this green card and put it behind the copy of the letter that you sent, in your envelope. And you do that times 10. So you're going to probably have a stack of paper this big with a cover letter that's basically going to be the dispute letter, and it's going to list all of the accounts with the partial account numbers that you're disputing in the letter, okay? So I also have a dispute letter there. It's called the 609-611 letter, which you could also find at getdisputeletters.com or secretcreditletters.com. So let's talk about our dates. This is the most important part, you guys. This is where we're getting into the thick of the holiday blitz at this point. So October comes and goes. Now we're into November. So I believe Thanksgiving's at the very end of the month. I believe it's November 27th, if I'm not mistaken. Our goal is to get our dispute letters in the mail by November 21st. So the Friday before Thanksgiving is our goal, okay? We want to send those letters trackable mail. They do not have to be certified, okay? We don't want them sitting in a mailbox. So here is the bad part about certification, is that if there's nobody there to sign because they're all on holiday or they're all on vacation, then they're sitting in a box and time's ticking and time's wasting. So whenever you're communicating with the credit reporting bureaus, unless you're actually going to be threatening a lawsuit, you do not waste money or time doing a certified card from the U.S. Postal Service. What you do instead is you just do it trackable. You don't get a signature or anything from anybody at the credit reporting bureaus. Again, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. You just do it trackable mail. Got it? That way, it will track the very moment it hits their P.O. box. It doesn't matter if it takes them 10 days to go pick up the mail. It counts from that day that it hit their P.O. box. That's when the clock starts ticking, 30 calendar days starting the day after they received it in the box. So say, for example, you send the letter to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion on Friday, November 21st, the Friday before Thanksgiving, and they all received their letters by hopefully that Monday, right before the Monday of the week of Thanksgiving, okay? So that is the whole idea, is that we want them to receive that letter Monday or Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So then that way, so Thanksgiving's on the 27th, it would be great if they could receive these letters by the 25th, because in that way, the time starts ticking at the 25th, okay? So again, your letter that you sent to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, it could sit in a P.O. box for 10 days. Does not matter. The time has already started ticking, provided that you didn't ask for a signature confirmation. Do not ask for a signature confirmation from the credit reporting bureaus. Again, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Just send the letter trackable. That's it. So ideally, you can get it into their P.O. box by the Monday the 24th, right before Thanksgiving. So then that way, it technically starts the clock ticking on the 25th. Which is the first day, the first calendar day of the next 30 days. And they have 30 days to respond to your disputes. Make sure that you send in a copy of your driver's license showing your current address. If you don't have a driver's license with your current address, either take your happy ass down to the DMV or Secretary of State or whatever it is called in your state. Get your updated information. If you did not update your current address in your state, you're probably in violation of state law, because after you move, in most states, it's required within 10 to 14 days that you update your current address with the Department of Motor Vehicles. So if you haven't done that yet, you're already in violation of state law. So you probably want to go ahead and update your state ID card or your driver's license. And if you just don't want to do that or don't have that, then use a passport. It has to be a current passport. Passports do not have addresses on them, okay? You also need to provide 2 utility bills showing your name and address, showing that you live at that address. If you don't have utility bills, use alternatives. I always tell people there are alternatives. Utility bills are preferred within the last, say, 30 days, maximum 60, but 30 days is preferred. If you don't have a water bill or electric bill or a garbage bill or any other bill, then you can use a cell phone bill, bank statement. Just make sure you block out any account numbers. You can use a credit card statement. You could use an insurance bill statement, some other statement that proves your current address if somebody else paid your utilities, okay? Make sure that you include the utility bills, because they will always try some shenanigan of claiming that they don't believe it's you just to buy themselves some time. So you always want to make sure that they don't do that. So always make sure that you include a copy of your driver's license, a current driver's license showing your current address, or a state ID card, or a passport, and a copy of 2 utility bills showing your current address or equivalent. Just make sure that you black out any relevant account numbers, okay? So you put that in a big pack, and yes, those envelopes going out to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion will probably be this big. Because if you have, say, 10 accounts that you're disputing that are closed negative accounts, then you're going to have a copy of a green card and a copy of a letter for each individual account. So that would be, say, 10, okay? Plus copy of your driver's license, plus a copy of 2 utility bills, plus your cover letter for the dispute, the actual dispute letter itself. That's a lot of pages. I mean, we're talking like what, maybe, I don't know, 30 pages or so. It just depends on how many of these copies of these green cards and letters that you're going to have. That will determine how thick it's going to be. It's going to be pretty thick. You might want to put it into a priority envelope, because priority envelopes that are, those cardboard envelopes, it's going to cost you a little bit of money, but you'll know it'll get there fast. You'll be within your time frame of the Holiday Blitz. You won't be messing around, and you'll make sure that you'll be able to fit all that stuff in there. Plus, they're going to know that you're serious. You're actually sending this. You're spending the extra money, sending a priority. So you're probably not going to be messing around with, oh, we don't believe this is you, or you're going to have to show proof of your identity when clearly you've done that because you've put, a copy of your driver's license in there. So please put it in a bigger envelope. Ideally, one of those priority envelopes that are the cardboard kind that you can get from the U.S. Postal Service. And again, make sure that you send a trackable mail, okay? So say they get it on... Say you send a priority the Friday before Thanksgiving. Say they get it on Monday the 24th before Thanksgiving. And now the 25th will actually start the 30-day calendar. So calendar days that they have to do their investigation. So now that brings us to Christmas, okay? Because obviously we know 30 calendar days from the 25th is now December 25th, which is Christmas time. Now that will give them time to update or say that they did an investigation or whatever the case may be. Many times you'll find during the Holiday Blitz a lot of stuff will come off because you're dealing with employees that are stuck there and they're disgruntled. Their peers who have been working for Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion are all enjoying time off with their family because they have tenure with the company. So you have the newbies who are basically pissed off on the skeleton crew at these credit reporting bureaus that are playing Candy Crush on their phone and just not wanting to be there. So you'll find that you'll have much more success getting stuff off of your credit when you do it this way through the Holiday Blitz, and even stepping it up a notch further. When you send your dispute letters with your heavy-duty envelope to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, the one that's going to have anywhere from 20 to 30 pages in it, hopefully, ideally, in a priority cardboard envelope, ideally, you'll have that 609-611 letter done in handwriting font. Now, if you don't want to sit there and actually handwrite out these letters, you don't have to. I know my handwriting is atrocious. Nobody can even read it. Some people have said I should have been a doctor because my handwriting's that bad. So what you could do is go to 1001fonts.com. And for free, you can download specific kinds of handwriting fonts into your computer that you can actually use in Microsoft Word. So when you download my letters, they're already in Microsoft Word. And then what you could do is download some handwriting or handwritten fonts for free from 1001fonts.com, and you can turn that whole document, that 609 letter, into a handwritten letter. You want it to look very legible. You want it to look like believable handwriting, but again, it has to be legible. I've noticed that when you do things in handwriting, or it looks like it's handwriting, things will come off your credit faster than if you do like a form letter and say Times New Roman or Arial or Courier font, because a computer can read those fonts, but other fonts a computer can't necessarily read. So the very moment we could take the computer out and eliminate the e-Oscar method, where they're just basically shoving the letters into a system, if you have a handwritten looking font on your 609 letter or your dispute letter that you're going to be sending off with your proof that they received these plus the letter. Now, the letter to the creditors doesn't have to be in that weird font, okay? It could be in a regular Arial or Times New Roman font. But the font that you should use for your dispute letter, that's going to be your cover letter to all of the stuff that's going to be in the envelope, that should be in a handwriting font. Because the very moment that the computer can't read it, then a human being has to intervene in the process and go, why isn't this computer picking up this font? Damn it, I guess I got to sit there and I got to do this myself, and I got to do the disputes. And again, remember, the state of mind of these people is disgruntled, upset, pissed off that they got to be there while all their friends and, people that have been there for a long time are off enjoying the holidays while they're stuck there because they're newer employees for Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. So they just will take stuff off of your credit. But again, the handwriting font is the critical key to this. You can't just send it off in a Courier font or Times New Roman or Arial or any of those other fonts. Again, yes, it's okay for your letter that went in the empty envelope to be in those fonts, but that goes with the, a card that you sent it off with. But the letter to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion addressed to them that include all of the information about the disputes, that needs to be in a handwriting font. So choose something that's legible. If it's too off the wall and you can't read it, then that's going to be a problem. So you need to make sure that it's off the wall enough to where a machine can't pick it up, but not too off the wall that, it's like in wingdings or something, because nobody's going to be able to read that. That's like equivalent of, putting it in, Chinese. Nobody's going to be able to read that. Not even the human being that's intervening, and they're not going to be able to do the disputes for you. So the handwriting font is key. Now what's going to happen is after the 30-day investigation period, within that time frame, they're going to send you updates to let you know what stayed on your credit, what was deleted off your credit. And they're going to usually send this by way of mail. Sometimes they will send it by way of email if they have your email information on file. Otherwise, it will be sent by way of mail. Now remember, if they received it by November 25th, that's the goal. We have 30 calendar days. That puts us at Christmas, which means we're not going to be sending another round of disputes on Christmas. The postal service is closed. But guess what we're going to be doing on December 26th, which is the Friday after Christmas this year? We're going to be sending our next round of disputes. But this time we're sending what's called a method of verification, or a MOVE letter, MOV, which stands for method of verification. So by law, the credit reporting bureaus, upon request, have to show proof of what they did for their 30-day investigation with the creditors that you were complaining about. They have to show some kind of proof. And I actually also have the method of verification, or MOVE letter, at getdisputeletters.com or secretcreditletters.com down below. And you're looking for the method of verification letter. And that is the letter that you will be sending on December 26th. That one also needs to be trackable. You don't have to send that one priority, but it's going to go to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Again, just send it in a regular envelope, but it has to be trackable. It does not have to be certified trackable. And then that way you're demanding to know, as per federal law, what they did in this investigation, and they have to show proof of the investigation. And there's some heavy-duty legalese in that letter that basically threatens a lawsuit, okay? So what ends up happening after that? Well, now they have another 30 calendar days from the day that they received that letter. So say it's the 26th of December, that would be a Friday. All of the holiday mail has already been pushed through, except for some straggling pieces. So hopefully they get it, let's see, maybe the 29th or the 30th, they're going to get that letter. And again, we don't want a signature confirmation on that. We only want it to be trackable, because we don't want it to be sitting in a P.O. box for 10 days before it actually starts to count on our ticking clock, okay? So they'll get it maybe by the 29th, maybe by the 30th, and then that starts the whole calendar all over again. Now, please note that even though it's technically after the holidays, people's brains are still on fruitcake and champagne, and they're just not all there. In fact, people don't really start thawing out after the holidays until about mid-January. So yet again, we have another set of letters that have gone out, our method of verification letters that have gone out. Do you have to do it in handwriting font this time? No, you do not have to do it in handwriting font. So handwriting font is only for the actual dispute letters, like the 609 letter that you find, again, on my website at getdisputeletters.com or secretcreditletters.com. That's where you'd find the 609-611 letter. That one should be in handwriting font, okay? The method of verification letter should just be in a Courier, Times New Roman, Arial, pick your favorite font, does not matter. And that is the one that has the heavy-duty legalese that basically essentially threatens a lawsuit if they are unable or unwilling to furnish proof as per federal law how they did this investigation and proof of the investigation itself, okay? So then they have another 30 days, but please note that that's when you're going to really notice that stuff start to fall off, because now you're again still dealing with the skeleton crew, but people are slowly coming back to work. The last thing they want to do is deal with the pain in the ass who's now on his third dispute, or technically second dispute. And now it's getting into the heavy duty legalese. They can make a decision on taking some stuff off at that point. Things will start to fall off your credit because the last thing they want to deal with is a lawsuit, okay? And so what happens if still the stuff isn't falling off? Well, some stuff will fall off. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me that, some of you are very persistent with this process. And those of you that are persistent understand that you have to have a schedule. You have to do this timely, in a timely fashion. It's more important to do this on a schedule for the Holiday Blitz than any other time of the year. Usually you're a little loose on the back end other times of the year, like you could do 35, 40 days between, letters and so forth. But this Holiday Blitz period, you're very tight on your time because you don't have those extra days to mess around because the holidays only last so long, right? So you're very strict on your schedule. So please note that people are very successful with the strategy that I teach all throughout the year, even more so successful during the Holiday Blitz period because the credit reporting bureaus are so, I guess you could say, understaffed, and the people that are there, the skeleton crew members, are just not wanting to be there. So therefore, you get more stuff removed off your credit, okay? But this is a persistence game. I have so many people that will complain, oh, Monica, I sent my one letter and the C's did not part for me. Now, mind you, it took me 5 years to screw up my credit, but I just thought I was going to send this one letter and all of a sudden, the C's parted and then their credits, they went from a 450 to a 700 FICO overnight. That's not how it works, okay? Took you years to screw up your credit, will take you some time to fix it. Not years to fix it, but it will take you some time to fix it. So once you start to get the negative closed accounts pulled off your credit, and once you can get that FICO score up there, start thinking about a second chance credit card, just one second chance credit card. Credit One. You could do Pedal One. There's Destiny, Milestone, Indigo. There's a ton of them out there that you can use. And if you can't qualify for a second chance credit card, like a low balance second chance credit card with one of those companies, then maybe consider a secured credit card with a very well-known bank like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citibank, Chase, one of those, right? And then that way you start rebuilding your credit, because a lot of people will focus so hardcore on getting all of these things removed, but then they don't focus on the new accounts and getting new credit in there. Plus, if you also have current open revolving accounts, credit cards that you currently have, loans that you currently have, a mortgage that you currently have, a car loan that you currently have, start making payments on time. Stop slipping behind. If you need side hustle, business opportunity ideas, I have a whole slew of them on my channel that you can check out. There's a lot of things that you could start doing right away to start making money that don't cost a lot of money to get involved in. But start making that side hustle money to start making sure that you pay all your bills on time, because that's the only way that you can get upwards into the 700 plus mid FICO score range, by not only rebuilding credit, but paying all your bills on time and getting rid of all the negative closed accounts, okay? So what happens with the accounts that have not fallen off after the Holiday Blitz is completed? Meaning that you're in January, maybe you got half of the stuff off, but the other half did not fall off for whatever reason. Now what do you do? Well, you can make some decisions on exactly what your options are, okay? You could sue the credit reporting bureaus for not following protocol, because I can guarantee you that, as per federal law, everything on your credit reports must be 100% accurate 100% of the time, okay? So I don't know if you've ever noticed, but maybe you have, say for example, you have a Capital One credit card, and when you pull your Experian credit card or your profile, it'll say that you currently owe $1,592 on that Capital One card. But then when you pull TransUnion, it says you owe $1,694. And then when you pull your Equifax, it says you owe $1,412. Well, how can they all be accurate? And the answer is they're not, which means that if they are not 100% of the time reporting accurate information, it has to be eliminated if they're not willing to update it properly, okay? That is federal law. It's not a law I made. It's not a law I'm making up. It's not a law that you are, not in the right for taking advantage of. It is the federal law on the books today, right now, okay? So what you can do is sue them because it's for punitive damages, meaning that you are losing job opportunities, you're losing out on decent insurance premiums, you're losing out on, lower interest rates and other credit opportunities because your credit is in havoc right now because they're unwilling to follow federal law or show proof of how they did their investigation. So you can literally file a lawsuit against them. There are other videos I did about different attorneys who handle these kinds of lawsuits on your behalf. So I suggest that maybe you find some of them that do that. Some of them will actually do that on contingency, which basically means you don't have to come out of pocket for these attorneys. What they do is they will basically collect from whatever damages that they're able to get in Superior Court against Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion on your behalf. So say, for example, they get a $50,000 settlement. Not only will the stuff fall off your credit, but also they get a chunk of that $50,000, depending on what you agree to, in some cases upwards of a third of that, and then you get the rest of the settlement money, but it's better than coming out of pocket for an attorney, don't you agree? And so that is going to be your final. So what I would do is if the things were not updating on your credit favorably, say it's January, and maybe half the stuff fell off of your closed negative accounts and the other half didn't, then you'll send a final letter to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion in reference to the accounts that did not fall off. This one will be sent certified, okay? So this last letter that you'll be sending to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion in January will be certified and trackable, and it will be basically, this is your last chance. Here are the accounts that you did not remove. You failed to show method of verification. You failed to actually do an adequate investigation as per federal law, blah, blah, blah. And this is your last chance. And then there will be a lawsuit that will be filed against you because of the punitive damages involved to my credit and to my financial well-being because you have failed to do investigation, you're failing to report accurately, and you're failing to follow federal law, okay? So that has to be sent by way of certified trackable mail to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion because it is a legal threat letter. And then you wait 30 days after that. Maybe in this last Hail Mary, some of the last little bits of stuff will fall off. If not, then yes, you can seek out an attorney or a law firm that specializes in these kinds of credit lawsuits, and then you can go ahead and actually file a lawsuit against them for violating federal law, okay? So then that takes care of that part, your actual fixing part. So now you should have at least a decent mid 700, ideally 720, even better 750 mid FICO across the board. That would be great. Again, don't forget about your new credit accounts. Only one second chance credit card or one secured, well-known national or international bank credit card. Choose one. And then also, if you also want to take the best crack at trying to increase your FICO score as fast as possible, I recommend you get a Navy Federal Credit Union bank account. Simply go online. I did a tutorial about this a while back on my YouTube channel. Look for it. And what you can do is actually go online. My grandfather was in the Navy. They don't even ask what the dude's name was, what his date of birth is, nothing. That's what I did to open up my Navy Federal account. Now, mind you, I did actually have a grandfather in the Navy. Never met the dude. He died long before I was born. But this is 100% fact. But this is how I know that they don't check anything or ask anything, because I went through the process getting an account online with Navy Federal, and they asked me nothing, okay, about the dude that's supposedly my grandfather that was in the Navy. So they don't check anything. So if you want to get a Navy Federal account, it starts $5 to pledge to be able to open up a savings account to get started, get your foot in the door. The reason you want a Navy Federal account, and by the way, this is only if you have not already screwed them over in some way financially. So they just offer really good loan programs, really good second chance loan programs. They're very lenient. I don't want to say very lenient, somewhat lenient when it comes to their credit products. But most importantly, they have something called a pledge loan program, where you can actually put money into, say, it's like a secured loan. So say you put like $1,000 into a secured loan, then 30 days later, you pay off $900 of that $1,000. And then over the course of the remaining 11 months, you pay pay $10 a month until it's all paid off. And then that will boost your FICO score massively over the course of the next 6 months or so if you get yourself a pledge loan through Navy Federal. And then you can enjoy all kinds of financial benefits from their different programs. They have some of the lowest interest rates when it comes to home loans. I mean, they are just a great bank to deal with, okay? So you want to get in good with Navy Federal. And you can start that process of rebuilding your credit at the same time as fixing your credit. That's very important you do both. All right, so let's talk about the $5,000 contest, because some of you want to make $5,000 for increasing your FICO at least 200 points or more over the course of the Holiday Blitz. The Holiday Blitz officially starts in October. I will have more details at my school account. If you're not already part of my school community, you can go for free, school.com/Monica Main. You can get in for free, and then once you get in for free, you go to the classroom tab and then look for the Holiday Blitz contest, okay? I will lay out all the contest rules for you, and you basically have to pull your credit using the link that I provide, not any other link, but the link I provide. Pull your credit in October. If you're listening this later, like right before maybe Thanksgiving, you want to start the Holiday Blitz, right before Thanksgiving, like maybe that Friday before Thanksgiving, which would be the 21st. That's fine too. You could still pull your credit right before you start fixing it. And then I need the credit pull from before, and then I need a credit pull after, which it will end in January. And again, I'm looking for people that have 200 or more increase in their FICO score from October to January or November to January, whenever you start the Holiday Blitz, okay? And so you can, again, go to school.com/Monica Main. Once you're admitted in, go to the classroom, look for the specifications and guidelines of the $5,000. You have to follow all the rules, otherwise you're disqualified. It's very simple, okay? Very simple on how this works. Again, you need a before and an after shot of your FICO score. And that's it. And you have to follow the link to get all 3 credit reports as I specify in the guidelines. And that's how you can win the $5,000 in addition to increasing your FICO score 200 points or more. I say that's a pretty damn good deal, don't you think? Absolutely. Okay, that's what I thought. So I'm just here to help you in any way I can as far as trying to help you rebuild and fix your credit as fast as possible, so then that way you can take advantage of more of your credit opportunities and even better job opportunities, because a lot of times employers, especially higher level employers, are going to pull your credit to make sure that you're not going to be, embezzling money to pay bills or whatever, or stealing stuff out of the warehouse to sell on eBay in the back, from the back. They want to make sure that your credit's solvent. And so you want to be able to have the very best opportunities, as well as getting business credit so that you can start using other people's money to build wealth for yourself. And I talk about that in other videos as well. Now, one final thing I wanted to mention, and this is my secret of all secrets, okay? So if you want to really increase your FICO and you're just like, Monica, this whole empty envelope thing, I don't know. Please note that there's a cheat that you can use. It's not really a cheat, but you qualify to use this cheat, believe it or not. So this goes back to my data breach videos that I did a while back. There was the first major data breach, which I believe was with Experian. That was back in 2017. No, I'm sorry, Equifax, 2017. And that was the very first major data breach, which would cover the period of most, if not all, of any accounts that you would have, like closed accounts that you might have right now. And then fast forward to about June 2025, there was another major password hack breach that basically breached everybody's information. And then, of course, most recently, the breach with the Social Security Administration, which they're not fully admitting to, but basically that includes anybody in this country or out of this country with a Social Security number. That was actually most recently breached in August of this year. So what you can do is the data breach strategy. This is the shortcut, where you basically file a police report at your local Yoco Police Department. You can do this either online or go in where you're walking in at 9 p.m. and on a Thursday, and it's a slow night, and you have this old man volunteer desk person who's going to take your report, and then you want to wait a few days after you can get the actual official report from the detective, and you're basically not specifying a specific individual that compromised your identity or stole your identity. You're just saying that your information has been breached, and that you believe there are credit accounts that have been opened, without your permission. And that's basically what you say in the report. And then you also have to go and file an FTC report, which is through identitytheft.gov. And what you do is you also get an official report from them. And what you can also do is, instead of doing the empty envelope, you could skip the whole thing in October and then go right for the throat and have a copy of your FTC report and a copy of your police report, and send out a dispute letter to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, along with a copy of your driver's license, along with 2 utility bills showing your current address or equivalent to the bills, such as a bank statement, credit card statement, etc. We already talked about this. And then you're basically going to say, my identity was compromised, and here are the affected, closed accounts that I'm going to be disputing based on this police report and this FTC report, because my identification was compromised. Now, before you do this, before you send the dispute letter with the 2 reports to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, freeze those reports. In fact, everybody needs to freeze their credit reports immediately before starting the dispute process. You want to freeze the report with Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. All of this can be done online, or you can send a simple letter to them asking them to freeze your credit reports immediately. And I would even add in there, I do believe that my identity has been breached, and that there's been some misinformation, or there's been some accounts open that I did not authorize. Therefore, I need you to freeze my accounts immediately. And so this will freeze Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Mind you, when you apply for credit, you do have to temporarily unfreeze. Please note the word temporary, okay? Everybody's always asking me, well, Monica, I froze all my my profiles. What do I do now? When do I unfreeze them? Never, okay? That's the answer, never, okay? Here is why it's never. Because that is now, so identity theft and people using up your credit, the better your credit's going to be, by the way, and the more valuable it is to hackers, okay? So why would you want to leave that information? It's like leaving your safe of your house just open while you have guests over. Like, say you're having a cocktail party, and maybe it's, I don't know, New Year's Eve. You have a bunch of people over. Some of them are, squeamy, like weirdos that you just invited over that just came in from the street. And you don't even trust them, but yet you just not only leave your safe open, you just say, oh, hey, let me introduce you to my safe, and I'm going to go use the bathroom now for 30 minutes. Just watch my money and everything in my safe. That's basically what you're doing when you keep your credit profiles open and unfrozen, okay? You are letting anybody, any Tom, Dick, or Harry come in and take whatever they want to take. And again, the more you increase your FICO score, the more valuable your FICO score becomes to hackers, which means that now they want to target you. So you want to keep that stuff frozen. And then the very moment you're applying for something, you unfreeze it. You ask the car dealership, for example, hey, who do you pull from? Oh, we pull from Experian, or we pull from TransUnion. Almost nobody pulls from Equifax. Trust me on that. Like, nobody cares about Equifax. They're the most useless credit bureau on the planet. But it's usually always Experian or TransUnion, sometimes both. And so just say, okay, give me a minute, and then you go on your app on your phone. Experian has an app. TransUnion used to have an app, doesn't. Equifax, I think, brought back their app. But again, nobody pulls from Equifax anyway. So you can unfreeze on Experian right on your phone if you have the app. TransUnion, you usually have to go to their website and you have to choose a time frame. Like, I want to unfreeze from today and I want to freeze it back up by, 2 days from now, whatever, just to give the, the creditor or the car dealership enough time to process the application through. But then you're going to freeze it back up again, folks. It stays frozen now. This is like the lock on your car, the lock on your front door, the lock on your safe. Get it? You keep that stuff locked. You don't just leave the door flapping in the breeze while you go on vacation someplace with, your purse on the front seat. But that's what you're doing when you're keeping your credit, your credit reports open. That's what you're doing. You're doing that for hackers, okay? In fact, hackers can get more money from your open credit than they can from probably your wallet on the front seat of your car that you just left the door open. Because they can probably get what, like a couple $100 out of your wallet? But when they can dip into your credit and they can defraud you that way, they can get thousands, tens of thousands of dollars from you by leaving your credit open like that. So if you're going to do the data breach or the identity theft, strategy, the secret, freeze your credit reports first before you send that dispute letter right before Thanksgiving. So again, let's recap on the data freeze secret, okay? Or the data breach secret. skip the empty envelope. Don't need it if you're going to do the data breach strategy. Okay, skip that part. And then right when we get into about the third week of, I would freeze your Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion right away. But you want to make sure that you can start the process of getting those identity theft reports out immediately. Like I would start now. There's no reason to wait. But it will give you a little bit more leeway. You don't have to just push it to the very last Friday before Thanksgiving to send those letters out. So freeze your 3 credit reports, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. File a local Yoco police report. I would walk into a station when the volunteer old man behind the counter is just going to write up whatever the hell you say. Basically say my identity has been compromised and I believe there's been several accounts that have been opened in my name that I don't recognize or don't have any knowledge of. Okay? He will write exactly what the hell you just said. It will go to a detective. The detective can't do jack nothing because, there's no identifying party. You just basically said somebody, and somebody can be anyone out of the, 9 billion people on this planet or however many people are here. So he's going to give you an official report. You're going to need that, and you're going to need your FTC report from identitytheft.gov. Once you have those 2 reports, you're going to go ahead and send those 2 reports with your ID, 2 utility bills, and a dispute letter to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, trackable mail. Make sure that your Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion profiles are frozen before you do this. So then that way it looks like you're actively trying to, mitigate the situation that's now starting to get out of control. Okay? And then that's it. Now, because it's a data breach or an identity theft situation, they're supposed to take all those closed negative accounts that you're requesting off your credit immediately. They're supposed to. All right? That doesn't mean that they will, but they're supposed to, and some of them will actually fall off once you actually file your disputes directly with Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. So, again, if they don't fall off, you're going to have to do the method of verification letter, which again will happen right around like the day after Christmas, the same way the rest of the process goes, okay? But instead of doing the empty envelope, you'll skip that. And instead of doing a 609-611 letter, you're going to basically do an identity theft letter because you're going to have the corroborating reports from FTC and from your local police department. And you're going to basically say all of these closed negative accounts need to come off. Now, are you going to focus on open revolving accounts? No, because what's going to end up happening is they're going to close those accounts, okay? Because what's going to end up happening is Experian and Equifax and TransUnion are going to be like, oh, hey, so-and-so is saying that this open revolving account is a fraudulent account. So what the bank's going to do is to mitigate their potential future loss, they're going to close your account for you. So if there's any accounts that you want that are open revolving accounts, don't dispute those on your identity theft stuff because otherwise those accounts will be closed, okay? So that's why we focus on closed negative accounts for this because that stuff is easy to deal with. So again, you want to start off by getting into my school account, school.com/Monica Main. Make sure that you check out the classroom tab. You want to participate in this upcoming contest to win $5,000 between now and January when the contest will close out. And you could potentially win $5,000 in addition to having more than 200 points added to your FICO score. You can be $5,000 richer too, why not? Be sure to get my dispute letters, getdisputeletters.com or secretcreditletters.com. If you need to go through this video again, because there's a lot that I had to cover to make sure that you did it correctly, please do it. I also have a credit flow chart. Again, you can get the flow chart at school.com/Monica Main. Look for my credit flow chart. The flow chart will show you the exact process of exactly how to go through the entire dispute process. Now, please note, I didn't include the freezing of the credit reports yet because this is the first iteration. So please add that part to it. Don't say, Monica, the thing didn't say. Okay, I told you to freeze your credit report. You're supposed to do that anyway. You're supposed to have already done that. So just because it's not on the chart doesn't mean I didn't mean that it should happen or not happen. Just do that anyway. Just freeze those credit reports immediately and keep them frozen. Unless you're applying for credit, then temporarily lift it and then freeze it back up again, okay? Because to hackers, your higher credit score is going to become a commodity moving forward. You don't want to give them that, okay? You don't want to give these thieves that. So please note, if you need to communicate with me, please don't email me, don't call my office. You will never get a response, but you could always DM me directly at school.com/Monica Main once you're admitted into the group if you have any questions. But for legal reasons, I'm not going to be able to go into the life and times of what to do with your credit, but I can give you one-liner answers here and there. And please don't overload me with 10 paragraphs of information. So many of you are doing that lately. And I can answer 1 or 2 questions at a time, but I'm not going to be reading a novel every single time I log in and I take a look at these DMs. So I'm going to be as quick and as curt as I possibly can to help as many people as I possibly can, okay? If you like this content, give me a nice thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Drop a few comments down below. That helps me out a lot. This is Monica Main signing off, and I will see you in the next video.